Good afternoon or good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. There was a very, very small controversy about a New England strip that Nike had made, in which people claimed that what Nike had done is that they made like a new version of the flag of Saint George, except with like a multitude of colors that people associated as woke, and well, hijinks ensued. I've made my points about this issue very, very clear, and the fact is that I think it's virtually a non-issue because what like the flag of St. George is like the actual like shape of like a red cross is now somewhat owned by something right now. I mean, the actual shape and the color, you're trying to say that that's now strictly associated to one place now and all the rest of it. So, and then that's. Basically a whole. I explained it was like a non-issue because, well, what about the fact that it's what about the other people who live in this country who don't see an issue with it, who aren't nearly as emotionally attached as other people are. You know what? The great irony is that the people who mock people by saying they're woke, they're the ones who are more sensitive than anybody else because they're the ones who immediately lashed out and called other people this, that, and the other. Yeah, no, and that's the big thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that the only reason why people use woke and snowflake as insults towards other people is because secretly they are just, if not even more sensitive than the people they're offending. Because yeah, here's the other issue I had with this story is the fact that the strip itself cost 125 quid, and well, I know what you're thinking of, ladies and gentlemen. 125 quid for a strip is quite dear for what it's supposed to be. I can literally go out and buy a new Newcastle strip for like 45 quid. There's no reason why it needs to be that expensive, which it should be another reason why, again, people are probably not going to bow down to it, is because, simply put, economically, it doesn't make sense to buy something as expensive as that. For if it's meant to be sold to the masses, that's the sort of thing that would convince Nike to like not make it any longer, not because of the sake of some stupid color scheme, but it's because who exactly is going to buy it. Then of course we run into and by the way, this whole news story was basically over in a single day because it was deemed as yesterday's news. But while we're on the subject, ladies and gentlemen, GB News, which is always a hotbed for stinking hot bullshit opinions, except for the people who actually come out and they actually fight on the other corner, who have a slightly more democratic response. And I've talked a lot about this before, about how GB News is anything but democratic, not just in its presentation, but through its coverage and the fact that it's under 14 different investigations, not just from Ofcom, but by other regulators. The fact that all of their presenters are either ex-BBC employees who have right-leaning, leaning conservative opinions, and Nigel Farage made passionate pleas saying that they believe that the only reason they're under attack is because they're popular. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's enjoy for the next 5 minutes Emily Thornberry apparently owning GB News over the flag because, well, is this I'll just re-emphasize this again, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to imagine that the priorities and the issues of this country and where we're going right now, we should not be frigging like start splitting hairs over a flag. What about everything else that's wrong with this country? Yeah, what about that? You know what I mean?
Hi guys, so I don't really know where the manufactured outrage against a strangely coloured England flag that appeared on a football shirt actually started, but it seems to have caused a massive meltdown over the last few days both on and off social media. Now, GB News, who ran whole segments on the quote...
I should also point out that this is courtesy of the YouTube channel Maximilian Robespierre, which I think that's a great name for a YouTube channel because for those who don't know, Maximilian Robespierre was the former leader of the Jacobin Club, which was a a slightly radical version of the National Assembly, which was in part responsible for the first French Revolution and had a swaying decision in the execution of King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. So that's pretty interesting. If I, as someone who's like quite good with French history, especially during the 17th to 18th century, during like the Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars, I appreciate a good I appreciate a good French radical.
Quote-unquote story had Labour's Emily Thornberry on. Then one of the hosts thought he could be sly and try and embarrass her over a photo she took some years ago involving the flag. However, he ended up being made a fool of by the Shadow Attorney General. Amazing stuff. Have a listen.
You're not a particular fan of the St George's Cross, are you?
What do you mean?
Well, you had to. You took the mickey out of someone flying the England flag and had to resign as a result of it.
Oh, you're talking about a photo I took 10 years ago.
Yes.
And I put on Twitter. Yeah, no, I took a photo 10 years ago of a house that was completely covered in England flags. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
And people made all sorts of assumptions about it. All right, okay. Sorry, I'm so far beyond, like, kind of trying to sort of explain, it was a photograph, and other people have decided what it was that I was thinking or saying. As I say, it was a very long time ago. But I did, as far as I was concerned, if it was going to do any damage to the Labour Party, do you know what I did? I resigned. Do you remember when people used to do that when they made a mistake? We haven't seen that forever.
You see, this is again, Emily, you heard it from there. Emily resigned of her own volition. She was not prodded at and she was not made to be sacked. You remember how Lee Anderson, he didn't apologise or he didn't resign as the result of what he did? Yeah, that's the sort of thing as well. That's like the big difference immediately between like Anderson and Thornberry. Thornberry, absolutely, she put her hands up, she admitted it was not a good idea, and she took responsibility for what she did. Simple as that.
I think from this lot, they don't do resigning, do they?
I tell you what, I'll move on to something else I was doing.
Otherwise, there wouldn't be any of them left.
I'll tell you what, we'll move on. Okay, you've completely owned us right there. That's God Almighty. This is exactly the sort of stuff I get excited for, because she's absolutely right. You know what? It's all about. Look, Geoffrey Cox, literally here. I don't think this is Geoffrey. Well, the point is that he's sitting there with a big smile on his face, thinking he's being clever. And, well, unfortunately, he's not being clever, because what was the whole point of inviting Emily Thornberry on to have an interview with if all they were the first thing that they come out with is just to insult her and just to be rude to her? And they immediately want to get past this because, bang, they hit a brick wall almost immediately. I've said this before, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to say it again. Rudeness is not having fun. Rudeness is having fun at somebody else's expense. And I hope to God that these two partners in crime think that this is funny, because let me tell you what, if their parents were watching this right now, they would not be proud of their children. I know they're not related or anything like that, but the point still stands. They would not be proud. I would not be proud if my kids were rolling around thinking that this was clever.
Let me tell you what I was doing.
Wonderful. See, the host thought, okay, what we do is we have her now. What we'll do is we'll embarrass her over a photo she took of a house in England that was covered in flags. Now, what happened at the time was Emily Thornberry took a photo of this, put it on social media. I don't think she actually included any comment or anything about it, or it was a collection of photos, and that was one of them. And of course, people, the Tories and their supporters, tried to claim that she was trying to embarrass the people of England, or try to suggest that, well, if you have an England flag, that you're far right or something like that. And of course, GB News trying to take advantage of the situation, trying to embarrass the Labour politician, fall flat in their face. Now, if they have a problem with the flag, well then surely they have a problem with this flag. This is the Union flag, defaced by UKIP. Remember, GB News, one of their...
That's an absolutely fantastic point as well, is that, what, you mean to tell me that 10 years ago when people immediately made assumptions about one and they were perfectly fine with one and they were not okay with the other? That's called a double standard, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what? I use the Union Jack in my Twitter profile because, you know what? I'm a member of this country as well, and you know what? I don't have any of those sorts of right-leaning opinions. It doesn't mean to say I can't display it. So what's the issue? That's the thing. Again, some things that you can't get through to some people is that they may think that because of the image or the way that people perceive it as being associated with either left or right-leaning opinions, it's why can't it just be a nice symbol, just as a way that actually empowers somebody to actually do something quite different? I mean, that's what I don't. It's because it is so now closely associated with things like the EDL or the BNP or UKIP or Brexit or the Brexit Party or the Reform Party. It's because it's now associated with those things as thinking that, you know, it's our country and not yours. It's because that's the image it's created. And the reality is that it shouldn't be perceived as that. It should be perceived by people on all sides of the political spectrum, because we're a part of the same country. And I don't really understand why. That's why, again, I think it was a good idea during like a previous Labour conference, like about a year ago, they actually had a large image of the Union Jack in the background, which I think is, I think that's fair enough as well. It's also for the citizens of this country who were members of the Labour Party. It was just as much their flag and it was just as much part of their country as anything else. So that's a great point. And, well, you can point fingers or anything like that, but at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's once again, like I said at the beginning, is that it's people who are more sensitive than the people they're mocking will immediately say they're racist or they're Islamophobic or they're anti-Semitic when, how could a flag say that? It's the people behind it. It's the people who put this together. So, like I said again, ladies and gentlemen, 10 years have gone by and you could say things have gone even more radical, and because we live in a very judgmental age. Now, so with that being said, some people have all the credentials to say that their actions are morally dubious at their very best. But some aren't, ladies and gentlemen. I won't say that everybody is like that. It's just, like I said, their actions make them who they are.
Host is Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage used to be the head of UKIP. So I don't think Nigel must have a problem with defacing the flag. Obviously, he's been on social media complaining about the new flag being placed on the colour of the flag or the style of the flag or whatever appearing on the shirt, on the football shirt. They can't complain about Reform UK also defacing the flag here, not showing the full flag. So obviously, it's a problem with Reform UK as well. But perhaps
question again, ladies and gentlemen, is that did anybody have an issue? Does anybody remember? Everyone must remember, like, the grime artist Stormzy and the fact that he had a completely black and white cover of the Union Jack when he's like performing or when he's got like his bulletproof vest on. Were people complaining about him defacing the flag then? I'm sure some idiots were, but well, if you don't have an issue with it then what's the issue with it on the Nike strip? Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, double standards.
Even GB News, you can see the flag is all distorted here, different shades of blue, different shades of red, and different shades of white. So, do they really care about the flag? Of course they don't. They're just trying to use this issue as a political football and trying to suggest that, well, maybe Emily Thornberry and members of the Labour Party aren't real patriots, because patriots care about the flag. The patriots care more about the flag than they do about the nation, because the nation is made up of the people. A true patriot wants to make the country better. wants to lift people out of poverty, wants to end poverty, sees poverty as an embarrassment for the nation, sees homelessness as an embarrassment for the nation, sees the idea of people having to extract their own teeth with pliers because they can't access the NHS as an embarrassment for the nation. True patriots want to make these things disappear, want to end homelessness, suffering, poverty, things like that, want to make the country better. They're not people who just wrap themselves in a flag. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rups Pierre. That's fantastic. And I can't really argue any more than that, ladies and gentlemen. And it's, again, even in situations right now when they talked about Kate Middleton with her cancer diagnoses and then the Daily Now, listen, I'll explain a little bit more about this later, because I think it's a dreadful thing to go through. I've lost members of my family to cancer before. It's dreadful. It's absolutely dreadful to happen. But that doesn't mean the world just suddenly stops working. You know what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? As hard it was for me to accept, life still goes on. And I had perhaps even more of a duty more than ever to make the world a better place, because I'm not going to let, like, the lives of the people I've lost personally, like, have all their work for the future, for their children and their relatives, to end up in situations like these where we've got nothing better to do than argue about a stupid design for a flag. That's the situation I feel like some people are in right now, is the fact that we're completely missing out the bigger picture. And we think that, again, trying to ridicule and insult people just for the sake of scoring goals is somehow just the norm. That's not cricket, ladies and gentlemen. That's not even ice hockey. That's not even rugby. This is just tit for tat and playground schoolyard bullying. And that as well is an embarrassment, and nothing that an actual patriot would want to do. So let that sink, ladies and gentlemen. And hopefully, if you're like me and you want to watch GB News sink, I suggest make sure to subscribe to Maximilian Robespierre, and I'll see all of you guys again next time. Thank you.